Alright, what is up, boys? Today we're back with another video. This is going to be 5 things that EA got right in UFC 5. You know, things that failed they improved upon from UFC 4, or they added that wasn't in UFC 4, but they added in UFC 4, which I think was a good addition and improved the game heavily. So yeah, so let's get straight into it. We're just going to be doing it over UFC 4 gameplay, obviously, because I can't show any uh, gameplay, even though I can't anymore because the beta is closed. But yeah, so let's get into it. So number one thing I believe that they done right in UFC 5 that changed the game and improved it heavily was the animation and level changes. And by that I mean, when you choose, if you have played UFC 5, you'll know what I'm on about, and if not, I'll explain it. So level fighters, the level of moves fighters have back in UFC 4, everyone, even though they'd have a higher level teep, like McGregor would have a level 5 teep and stuff like that, he would still have the same animation as Sam Alvey, the way he throws the teep kick. But whereas though in UFC 5, you'll notice the difference if you play, a really high level kickboxer like the likes of an Adesanya, Alex Pereira, you'll notice that their teep kick is a lot better animation than it is if whereas though if you're to use somebody like Gastelum or someone who doesn't throw teep kicks very often like Brunson, and the same goes with hooks and uppercuts animations, whereas though in UFC 4 they were always the same. In UFC 5 now, depending on the character you use, they will be a lot better. So yeah, that's a really good change I believe that they've made. It just adds some more uniqueness, and also it's just kind of, if you are going to use a really low level striker but a high level grappler, you are going to suffer in the striking department, as you should. The second thing I believe they changed that was a really good kind of change and improvement in UFC 5 was the submissions. I believe the submissions, they've done a really good job. I think they've just done a good job of just like stopping cheese. They've taken out the little mini game part of it. So it takes a lot more skill now to be able to get submissions. You have to be good with your denials. You have to be good with the transition cues. You have to be able to actually read what transition they're going for. You can deny it. You can obviously use the struggle option to, lower both your staminas. But it's obviously a lot more beneficial if you're the attacker and you have more stamina than your opponent. You can try and sink in that armbar or whatever submission you're going for. I think the improvements are a big change, and those who didn't play the beta, I believe you'll agree with me once the full game is actually out. So let's get into the third one. So the first one being, the animation level changes, and submissions being the second, and the third one being the model changes, the graphics, and just the presentation and cinematic KOs after. I just like how the game looks. I think they're after improving models by a landslide. With this new engine, I feel like the graphics just look 10 times better, and the models just look so clean. If you've used the likes of somebody like Paulo Costa, or the likes of Alex Pereira, some of the new models, you'll just notice that they just look so good. And if you've seen even the trailer, of course, you'll notice the likes of Dominic Cruz's model in the trailer is just absolutely insane. Rafael dos Anjos' model is really clean and accurate. Even Usman's look good. John Jones just looked like his heavyweight self. So yeah, and then as far as the cinematic KOs go, once you KO your opponent, then it kind of goes into that dark screen and it shows you slow motion and multiple angles of the KO. I think just the game, the way it's present, the way it's presented and everything just looks a lot more clean and high level, and yeah, it's just a lot more eye catching and appealing, aesthetically pleasing. I'd say. So yeah, that was the fourth change, or the third change, sorry, that I feel EA have done a good job of in UFC 5. And also I will be doing an overall review soon enough. So just what I think of the game, I'm gonna rate it go through more things I feel like they've done poorly, and little things that I can put in this list that I feel like they've done well or can have the potential to. So number 4, this is going to be an important one as well for those players that like to play the likes of a John Jones or an Israel Adesanya, even the likes of Alex Pereira does be affected by this Shavkat Rakhmonov. It is kind of what, if you're in the community, you'll be known as like the long-armed fighter effect. When you're using somebody as long-armed and long-reached as John Jones, you'll notice that you won't be able to kind of box well. They'll be way too slow, and obviously John Jones isn't no Canelo, and his boxing isn't amazing, but it is a lot better in real life than the game is able to portray. Same with Izzy and Alex Pereira, the best strikers in their division, yet when you use them they're just slow, sluggish. You get beaten up on the inside so often, it's hard to keep people at range. But as I said, in UFC 5 they've changed that. The likes of Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya just feel like the best strikers in the division, as they should. You can really poke at people at range. You can keep them at the end of your punches, whether that be your jabs and straights, even your teeps. And the animations are so good with the change of that in UFC 5, as I was just speaking of. So yeah, you can now successfully use fighters that have a longer reach, and use them really well and how they're intended to in real life. Put that reach to use and just keep them at bay. And so now number 5, I'm gonna say the 5th best change. Well, no in particular order, but the 5th thing I'm gonna mention in this video is the cuts. I think they've done a good job with the cuts, how it looks, and as well as how it kind of plays out. The only thing I would negatively say on it is it's a little bit too overpowered when you're in the likes of side control, because they have made side control a little bit too easy to hold, so you can kind of just create big gashes on your opponent's face. But yeah, I think the cuts are really good because it gives you a reason to be defensively smart, and if you're just getting hit too much, you'll notice. You really do. If you have played the beta, you'll have noticed the icons at the top of the screen. The more drastic the damage, whether it be your nose or your eye, the more drastic damage that you've taken, the darker colour the icon will be, which means it takes more of an effect. As you know, if it's the cut one, that means you're going to be able to take more, you're taking more damage, and your defense won't be as good. And if it is the one where you break your nose and the respiratory system kind of pops up, your torso, it means that your short-term stamina will not come up as fast. So that obviously is negatively affected, and depending on how dark the icon is, that means how much damage you've taken, and it means how much worse the damage will be, or how slow your stamina does regenerate. I just think it gives you, something to target as well when you're in a fight, but it also gives you a reason to be more defensively aware, more defensively smart, and not as sloppy. And it's nice, it is obviously somewhat random at times, but you'll notice you will get big cuts off the likes of head kicks, elbows, and even counter shots. And the same with when you break your opponent's nose. So yeah, there are 5 things I feel like EA have done a really good job with changing in UFC 5. I think the game is going to be much better because of it. As I said, keep an eye out, because I will be doing an overall review, which will probably go into a little bit more depth in just overall, as I said, about everything about the game, and what I think they can improve, and what my overall thoughts were on the beta, and the changes that also we're not in the beta, but we know and are aware of, that already have been made, just haven't got to test them out just yet. So yeah, keep an eye out for that video, and also just keep an eye out for all my videos. I'm constantly uploading a lot more now. So yeah, that'll be that, boys. But if you have liked, a like would be appreciated, and if you have not already subscribed, it'd be much recommended that you do so. Turn on that notification bell as well. Feel like a lot of yous, there we are, don't have that on. You just forget to, but it helps a lot. But yeah, appreciate yourself for watching once again, and peace out.